Hello everyone and welcome back to the revision sessions. We had completed our first chapter. It was about the crop production. Today we'll be revising our second chapter, microorganisms, friends and foe. So let's see what's there in this chapter. So what are microorganisms? So microorganisms are living organisms which we cannot see with our naked eye. They are so tiny that you need either a microscope or a magnifying lens to observe them. So this type of living organisms are called microorganisms, and they are usually categorized into four different categories. These groups are called, they can be bacteria, we can call them fungi, we can call them protozoa, and we can call them algae. So these are the four main categories of microorganisms. But apart from that, we also have viruses, which are kind of microorganisms, but they slightly differ. So these microorganisms, some of them are useful for us, not only for us, but also for plants and other animals. But some create nuisance for us. So let's check out what are the organisms that are helpful for us and what are the organisms that are harmful to us. Now, where do these microorganisms live? So they live in various categories. They live in various environments. They live in various places. You can find them in ice cold climate. You can also find them in a hot and humid climate. You can find them in deserts or barren lands. Some stay inside our bodies. Some stay inside some plants and animals. So basically, they are everywhere around us. So they can live in and survive in any environment and conditions. So now these microorganisms are responsible for some helps to human beings. They also cause some damage to human beings. Like you might have noticed that there are certain bacteria or microorganisms or germs. If they enter into our body, they may cause us various diseases like viruses. But also at the same time, there are certain microorganisms which are very friendly to us. Let's take an example of Lactobacillus. It's a name of a microorganisms that helps in creation of curd. So you might have seen like milk gets converted into curd. So what actually goes here? So there is this microorganisms called Lactobacillus that helps in the creation of curd. So we call them friendly organisms because they do not harm human beings, right? They in fact help us to get curd from milk. Another example is Rhizobium bacteria, which is usually found in soil, and this bacteria is responsible for the fixation of nitrogen into the soil, and this nitrogen is in turn used by the plants. So the plants get their essential nutrients from the soil in form of nitrogen, and when human beings we consume these plants, we get that atmospheric nitrogen. So in turn, this Rhizobium bacteria also helps human beings by helping the plants. So these bacteria are called friendly bacteria or microorganisms. So apart from this, there are certain microorganisms or germs that helps into the process called fermentation. So what is this? So you might have seen that, you might have known that the bacteria or the microorganisms that helps in the creation of alcohol from sugar. So what they do is they break down the glucose, they break down the sugar, and they help in the formation of alcohol. And this process is called fermentation. So again, this process is completely done by microorganisms. So and people have been using this process commercially to create alcohol. So that's one of the use of microorganisms. Apart from it, as a part of in terms of medical science, again microorganisms play an important role. So you might remember, like whenever you might have fallen ill, doctors would inject you with some antibiotics. They would inject you with some syringe, some medicines. So what are these made up of? These are made up of microorganisms. So how does they act on? So what happens is whenever certain microorganisms or something toxic enters into our body has a resistive power. It creates an antibodies which will fight against this incoming microorganisms, and because of this they help our body to protect from these outside threats. So in terms of medical science, microorganisms do play an important role, and it is because of them we are able to create vaccines. So how does a vaccine work? So as we said, like whenever an outside bacteria which can cause harm to our body, tries to enter into our body automatically produces antibodies. So what are these? These are nothing but kind of soldiers that fight with the bacteria. And once they know how to fight with the bacteria, they remember it. So the next time, whenever any bacteria or microorganisms enter into our body, they will fight in the same way. So once we teach them how to fight against this bacteria, it stays as it is forever, and we no longer are threatened by that particular disease. So this is how a vaccine was invented, and that's how microorganisms play an important role in production of a vaccine. So this was about the friendly microorganisms. Now let's talk about the microorganisms which are harmful to us. So these are the microorganisms which spread diseases into our body, and these are called pathogens. So that's the type of microorganisms that spread diseases. It can spread through air, it can spread through food, it can spread through water, it can spread if we directly touch the body of an infected person. And this type of spreading of disease, we call it a communicable disease. So you might have seen that whenever where your friend has a cough, common cold, or maybe tuberculosis, everyone advises you to stay away from that patient. Everyone advises that the patient should be created in an isolation. So such type of diseases which spread because of the touch or food or air, water, we call them communicable diseases. But not only this, there are certain microorganisms or bacteria that helps in spreading this disease. These are called the carriers, and as you might have seen that in your vicinity there might be some house flies or mosquitoes. So what do they do is they sit on the excrete or the waste stuff which is left over. They sit there, and if there is a patient who has affected because of this disease, these germs, these microorganisms from the excrete of that patient is attached to this mosquito or housefly, and when they fly and sit over a food or any other water, drinking water, and if you inject them, you are likely to get contaminated because of this virus. So we usually ask everyone to close the food. Food should not be left open. We usually clean our water storage areas regularly so that this type of spreading of diseases does not happen. Now, as you can see in this table, there are certain diseases, and there are cause given for the various diseases. So as you can see, tuberculosis is created because of bacteria, whereas measles, chickenpox, and polio are created because of the viruses. These are the common mode of transmission. So usually they are caused because of the air or contact or water. So what preventive measures we can take? As we mentioned, like we should keep the patient in an isolation, keep his belongings away from the other members of the family, and provide him with a vaccination so that he can get cured from this disease. Next, we have cholera and typhoid, and they both caused because of the bacteria, and they are not transmitted in air, but they are transmitted by water and food. And again, the general preventive measures that should be taken is to maintain a personal hygiene. The belongings to the patient should be kept aside from other family members. He should be given boiled water and provide him with a vaccination. Apart from that, we have hepatitis B, which is again caused by a virus. We have malaria, which is a known disease, which is caused by a bacteria called protozoa. As we had discussed, and the 4 categories of microorganisms, one of them was protozoa. So these malaria is caused because of the mosquito, and it actually does not spread because of air or water. So usually doctor would advise you to have boiled drinking water because mosquitoes are usually happens in a normal temperature water. So doctors usually would advise us to boil the water to kill the germs in this water, and we can consume it. Now the diseases are not limited only to human beings, but diseases by microorganisms are also trouble in animals and plants. So there is a dangerous disease called anthrax, as you can see, which can be in a human or a cattle, which is caused by bacterium. There are certain other diseases which are caused in animals because of the bacteria. Again, same goes for plants. So if there are some bacteria which affects the plants, it will ultimately affect human beings. It will also affect the yield of a plant. So the harmful microorganisms do affect human body, do affect animals as well as plants. Now there is another term called food poisoning. So what happens is, you might have known this if you might have gone out to a hotel, and sometimes if the food is not good, uh, you might have affected your health in some manner. So what happens here is, there are certain microorganisms which help in processing of the food, but there are certain microorganisms which create some toxic substance while this process goes on. So during this particular phase, if you inject such a food, if you take in that food which is having this toxic substance, you might fall ill. So this is called food poisoning, and to avoid this, we use different ways to preserve our food. So let's find out what are these ways of preserving food. So we have a chemical method. So what we do here is, with the help of some chemicals like vinegar or certain acids, if you add to the food, it will help, it will stop the progress of other bacteria, and we can say that we are able to preserve our food. So this method is called the preservation of food, and the ingredients that we add are called preservatives. Another common method of preservation is by salt. As you might have seen that when your mother creates a pickle, mango pickle, so what she usually does is, she will add some salt, she will add certain edible oils. So these ingredients check the growth of microorganisms in the pickle, and hence it can stay for mostly an entire year. So once we have a mango season, we can create a pickle. We use some preservatives, and the pickle can be stored almost a year. Another example is, we can take sugar as a preservative. So what sugar does is, it reduces the moisture content, and so mostly the bacteria occur because of the moisture in the climate. So sugar reduces the moisture, and this helps to preserve our food. Another way is by adding oils and vinegar. As we discussed, vinegar is a type of acid, and because of this acid, it kills germs and bacteria. So again, oil stops the oxygen from entering our food, so it creates a layer between the ingredient and the atmosphere. So hence it can be used as a preservatives. Another important way of preservation is by the heat and cold treatment. So you might be wondering, like, when a milkman gives you a milk, what you usually do is, we heat the milk, and then we put it into a refrigerator or a fridge. So this treatment we unknowingly do is kind of a preservative, and it was discovered that if you heat the milk at around 70 degrees Celsius, and if you keep there for 15 to 30 seconds, the chances of the milk getting defected decreases, and this process is called pasteurization of milk. And if you are using Amul milk, you might have wondered that on their bag they say this term, like, it's a pasteurized milk. So meaning, when milk was with them, they might have heated for 15 to 30 seconds at 70 degree, and then suddenly cool down the milk. So this helps in this reduces the growth of microorganisms. So this is called a pasteurization. Now, as you remember earlier, we had discussed about certain bacteria that helps in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen into the soil. We call this bacteria rhizobium bacteria, and they can be seen in the roots of certain pulses or beans, and they help the plants to get the required nitrogen from the soil, because these bacteria use the atmospheric nitrogen and then convert that atmospheric complex substance into simpler nitrogen compounds, which are then in fact used by the plants, and then from plants that they are used by human beings or other animals. So let's see about this nitrogen cycle. So as you might be aware that most of the atmosphere on Earth is covered with nitrogen gas. So here they are saying that there is approximate 78 percentage of nitrogen gas in our atmosphere. And let's see how the cycle goes on, how the atmospheric nitrogen comes to us and how it gets back to our atmosphere. So this is atmospheric nitrogen. From atmosphere, there are usually two ways by which the nitrogen can reach to our ground. Either when we see certain lightnings on a rainy day. So when a lightning occurs and it hits to the ground, some of the atmospheric nitrogen gets stored into the compounds of nitrogen into our soil. The other way is there are certain bacteria which are nitrogen fixing bacteria, and they use the atmospheric nitrogen and then they convert them into nitrogenous compounds, and these nitrogenous compounds are present in the soil then. Now what happens to these compounds? The plants that we grow into our farms, the crop production, they use these nutritions, they use this nitrogen as a part of the nutritions, and this reaches to the plants. Now once the crop is harvested, animals or we human beings eat these plants, so this nitrogen reaches to us. And when certain bacteria, when certain plants, certain animals are dead, they decompose, and the nitrogen which is stored into them gets again back to the plants, because if you remember that there are certain bacteria who helps in decomposing the dead body, who helps in decomposing the dead plants, and we can create an organic manure by this way. So this again reaches back to the nitrogen compounds into our soil. So as you can see that once animals eat plants, and once they are dead, the waste product from the dead is again converted back to the nitrogenous compounds. So we have a kind of cycle within the entire cycle. So this is the main cycle, and within that we have another cycle which keeps on going. So who gets back this nitrogen to the atmosphere? Well, then there are certain bacteria that can turn this nitrogen into the nitrogen gas by taking the nitrogen from the plants or human bodies, and they convert this into nitrogen gas. So using those bacteria, the nitrogen again reaches back to the atmosphere. And even though this sounds very complex procedure, the total amount of nitrogen into atmosphere remains constant. Okay, so once all these things are done, and this keeps on happening every day, and still the atmospheric nitrogen stays as it is. So this was all about the nitrogen cycle. Now let's see what we had studied in this chapter. So what is an algae? So we know algae is a type of microorganisms. We have antibiotics. So antibiotics are the medicines which are injected into our body to fight against the harmful bacteria are called antibiotics. Antibodies. What are antibodies is when an injected or when a harmful bacteria or microorganisms enter into our body creates antibodies which fight against this incoming bacteria or microorganisms. So these are called antibodies. Bacteria are again type of microorganisms. What is a carrier? There are certain insects, microorganisms like flies, mosquitoes, who help in the spreading of disease. These are called carriers. We have communicable disease. As we know, like there are certain diseases like common cold, flu, tuberculosis, cholera. So these diseases are transmitted with the help of water, air, food, or human touch. So these are called communicable diseases. What is fermentation? The procedure of creating alcohol from carbohydrate or sugar is called fermentation. What is fungi? Fungi is a type of microorganism. We have Lactobacillus. As we know, it's a friendly bacteria that helps in the formation of curd. Microorganisms are living organisms which are so minute that we cannot see them, but they are surrounding us everywhere. Nitrogen cycle, as we discussed, this is a nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen fixation. So with the help of some bacteria like rhizobium, the nitrogen or atmospheric nitrogen is fixed into the soil, which are used by the plants. So this procedure is called nitrogen fixation. Pasteurization is one of the way to preserve food with the by heating and cooling the food, so which is usually used for milk. So as we saw that if the milk is heated at around 70 degree Celsius, and it is kept for 15 to 30 minutes, 30 seconds. So once that is done, it is cooled suddenly. So this process is called pasteurization. We have another term called pathogen. So the bacteria or microorganisms which are harmful and they spread disease are called pathogens. Preservation, as we know, like microorganisms sometimes create toxic substance out of the food if the food is stayed for long duration. So in order to avoid that, we use preservation. We have next term called protozoa, which is again a group of microorganisms. We have rhizobium, which helps in the fixation of nitrogen. Vaccine is we have discussed vaccine. So what happens is when our body learns to defend against the incoming bacteria, again whenever such kind of harmful bacteria comes into our body, it knows to protect it, and so this stays as it is. So this is called a vaccine. Next we have virus, which is kind of different from microorganisms, but they are again harmful and they spread diseases. Yeast, if you see you keep a bread for a few days, you will see a green layer. This is caused by a bacteria called yeast. They also help to create cake, like the dough of cake is actually leveled up because of the yeast present in it. So that's it for this chapter. See you later. Okay, bye.